Next week's primary is the first election since Governor Abbott approved new redistricting maps. But what impact will that have on voters? For one, people may be surprised to see that they live in a different congressional district now.
But this election could also reveal the effects of what many call extreme gerrymandering, the manipulation of boundaries to favor one party. Some believe the new lines don't accurately represent the state's rapidly changing demographics, including the fast-growing Asian American community.
It's complicated, confusing, and controversial. The redistricting process, drawing new congressional district lines, happens every 10 years, and it's based off of new census data.
Exactly how they do it is a matter of art as well as a matter of science.
And political science professor Brandon Rottinghouse says it's anything but straightforward.
The redistricting process is fraught with politics. It's connected to all kinds of issues of representation. So the way these district lines are drawn or redrawn is part and parcel of how democracy functions.
The state legislature, with its Republican majority, drew up the new lines, which were approved by Republican Governor Greg Abbott last October. And for the first time in nearly 50 years, the state didn't have federal oversight when drawing up redistricting maps. The federal government, under the Voting Rights Act, had to approve redistricting because historically, Texas had discriminated against minority voters.
You have enough numbers to form a coalition as minorities, right? But when a district is drawn to make sure that the majority of the voting age population is white, then that is kind of disheartening.
Nikki Hafizi, a community activist, says that's what happened in Fort Bend County, home to the state's biggest Asian American population. She says the newest map of District 22 doesn't reflect that, especially since Sugar Land was redrawn out and is now represented by Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher.
It makes people feel that even if you work hard to electorally organize and you find a good candidate and you come together and do the work that democracy requires of doing the grassroots work of reaching out to voters and building those coalitions, it still won't matter because the district has been set up so that you will never win based on the numbers.
In 2018 and 2020, District 22 was competitive. Democrat Shri Preston Kulkarni of South Asian descent came close to flipping the seat. But Hafizi says the new lines ensure Republican Troy Nehls will keep his seat. She acknowledges Asian Americans are not a monolith of voters. They don't necessarily need a candidate who looks like them or aligns perfectly with their values.
It's just about feeling that someone who understands your community, understands what it feels like to be a certain race that's a minority, of an immigrant background even, that person has a chance of representing you in Congress.
But Rottinghouse says regardless of whether voters think it's right or wrong, the courts will have the final say.
Texas is not alone in drawing districts based upon partisanship in the legislature, but it is one of the few states that's doing it this way.